All right, well, thank you for joining me today. I have got an awesome dude on the call that I'd like to introduce you to today. We're going to talk about how to go from chasing $50,000 deals to landing $1 million ones. So let me introduce you to the man, the dude who is making all of this possible today. This guy right here. His name is Cam Rowland. Cam, what's going on, man? How are you?
Hey Jason, great to chat with you.
Awesome, man. Well, glad to have you on. Cam is an awesome business guy who does a lot of investment properties and real estate up in Canada. Owns a company called Square Foot Properties, and we've been working together since 2011. He's been having such tremendous success. I wanted to share some of that with all of you that are watching this. So, Cam, going back to kind of talking about how do you go from chasing $50,000 deals to landing $1 million ones, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because that's kind of how we started at the 50,000 and up to the $1 million. Can you give me some quick refresh on that?
Yeah, you bet, Jason. Basically, it started out, with single family homes, which I'm still doing. But to do one single family home and finding the money for that, or the investor, or just putting the whole deal together to, for myself, versus dealing with subdivisions or a group of homes, a package of homes, to developing 160 units in Texas. That's kind of the difference between the two, but I'm still doing the original one home deals,
Right.
but I'm also doing the $1 million deals.
Awesome, man. Well, and I just so for people that are watching this, I want them to know like this is just a casual conversation. I did put together some PowerPoint slides, and we talked earlier, and we went through some of the biggest successes that you've had, and I asked if it was cool if we put this together in some slides so we could share with other people. So first of all, Cam, I just want to say, it's awesome working with you guys, and hopefully you guys, if any of you have ideas out there, you want to do any property deals, Cam is not only doing stuff in Canada but also down here in the United States. And I would imagine, Cam, you'd be more than happy to take some phone calls from people who are looking to do property deals with you. Would I agree? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Or if they want to invest with you, for crying out loud. I mean, I remember when we first started, that was the game. Was like, let's find investors, let's find deals, and now they're coming to you at a much bigger level. And I just, if we can point more people your direction, that'd be awesome. And hopefully, we can go through some of these things and talk about what's changed after coaching with me for the last few years, and some of the things that have made a huge difference. And you're one of the big success stories I'd love to be able to share with people. So thanks again for doing this.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's just it's been an awesome number of years, and it's great to share, some of the wins.
Awesome. Thanks, man. That's fantastic. So let's talk about this because you've had some numbers that have increased by 835%, which is a pretty big number. So how did you go, Cam, from having, you had 17 doors, and I say doors just meaning the number of properties that you saw, right? 17
Mhm.
doors, number of properties you had in 2011, to today you have over 142 doors, and that's because you have some properties that are currently getting built out, correct?
That's right.
So,
That's
so
right.
let's talk about a little of that journey. Like when you first started. First of all, how long had you been in the industry when you had the 17 doors? How long had you been going in the property space?
Um, I'd been doing it full time for about half a year at that point, but I bought my first property back in 2006.
Awesome. So first property, 2006. And you've been going at it full time pretty heavily. And then what? Can I ask you this too? What kind of made you decide to go and start coaching? Like what kind of? I know we met each other out at an event, and then we started doing some coaching. But what was really the draw for you to say, all right, it's time for me to do something, and I need some support and some help? Because I think a lot of people just go, well, why not just do it on your own?
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't think I know. The reason why I started coaching with you was for several reasons. One, we just connected quite easily, and that was awesome. But for me, what I was looking for was I had a coach already, and he brought me to a certain level, which was great. But I knew I needed someone who had a much bigger context than what I was experiencing, and I needed to get out of my own way. And I saw you based on our introductory session, and when we met as well, I just saw you having a much bigger context and ability to think in new and creative ways that I hadn't experienced, and just thought, well, shoot, this is a no-brainer because I want to grow.
Yeah.
Uh, let's work with Jason Everett, and let's get to the next level. And so that's I can't remember. Well, I guess it's 4 years ago now, based on those dates, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I love that about you, Cam. Is it not only do you seek out ways to kind of expand and grow, and we'll talk about your context in a bit here, but like you not only look for it, but you say, okay, well, I'm doing pretty well. I mean, for a lot of people, hey, 17 doors might be really good, but you were like, well, what else can we make it? And you just been
Hmm.
getting into bigger and bigger deals. So talk to me about kind of the property path. Like, what's a typical deal? And maybe we'll talk about that. But what's a typical deal when you were doing the 17 doors? What's a typical deal now when you're doing the 142 doors that you now oversee and are part of your portfolio?
Well, back in 2011, there, a typical deal would be me finding an investor to purchase a single family house that basically what they're getting is a turnkey property where they don't get any phone calls. The rent comes into them, whether or not the rent comes into us from the actual tenant.
Hmm.
And so I was seeing a lot of growth there. A lot of investors, want to do that because they're getting great returns. They're getting like 18% return per annum on a house that they never have to set foot on. They don't get any phone calls.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
we
it's
were
basically
we were growing.
turnkey properties that they could just walk into and not have to deal with all the headaches that most people don't get into real estate investing because of.
Exactly, exactly. So it's a unique product that we've got that people that want to be hands off. It's real attractive, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But one deal of those at a time, because typically those investors could do one, maybe two, and the odd group could do three or four in one sitting, and that was great. But it's like, okay, my goal back then was to get over 60 doors,
Hmm.
and so I just kept working at this, and as well at the same time coaching with you, and you know um, helping me get beyond barriers when I met new investors or when other investors said no. It's like, okay, how do I change this up? And as I kept going, just new opportunities kept coming because really my context kept expanding. So I can remember when I heard about deals, and it's just like I was kind of like the blank stare, going, "That sounds great, but I have no idea how to structure that."
Can you give me an
And
example, Cam, of like a deal that used to scare you, but now is like actually a part of your arsenal today?
uh,
Maybe not scare
yeah,
you, that's a bad word, but I just mean like a
yeah,
deal that you were like, wow, that's way beyond me, and now it seems
yeah.
fairly normal.
No, scares a good word.
Okay.
Um, well, okay, so I think it was around probably 2010. There was a gentleman here in my hometown in Winnipeg where he had a ton of properties that he was trying to move, single family homes.
Hmm.
He had grown substantially, and he was looking to move some homes. So me and this other local real estate investor, we were trying to move these homes with a certain strategy. We're trying to wholesale them,
Hmm.
and that was just going really slow. And then they just kind of fell by the wayside. And about 2 years later, the same guy who had some of these homes left came across my desk and came about it a different way. And I had not met him yet, and I wanted to meet him. And so this person that was flogging this deal, the deal was with them, but the owner of the property was this investor that I knew of for 2 years. So I structured it in such a way that, okay, I'm really interested in this deal, but I want to meet the owner. And so I met the owner, and long story short, over the next year, did a group of homes totaling about 14 or 15 with them in that year that
Wow.
we structured, and so we did a ton of renos on them. A bunch of them we sold, a bunch of them we flipped into our own portfolio. And so, yeah, 2 years earlier, I couldn't get that deal done. 2 years later, was able to do it, and that relationship continues, and doing more with him, and he's introducing me to some other investors, and it's just kind of snowballing from there.
Well, and that's a big part of what I know we've discussed as we're going forward is like, how do you take advantage of, in a good way, all those relationships and be the right type of person in the right moment to be able to capitalize on those when they show up in front of you. But it's not only just being able to say, oh yeah, I'm interested in that deal, but then it's being
Yeah.
able to on the backside put together the resources to actually come up with the cash to do those deals, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's huge. So let's talk
Yeah.
about this because we keep talking about it, but like, what's the new context? We talked about the context expanding, but what would you
Yeah.
say, Cam, is kind of like, what would you say when you say context? Like, what do you really mean to somebody who might be like, what do you mean expand my context? What does that mean? What would you tell them about your context expanding?
Hmm, great question. I mean, a lot of it just comes down to what you experience, and maybe one way of framing it up is you've got a problem, and I don't know. So just in the sense of real estate, let's say I got a problem where I've got a property that a client was in, and they trashed the place. I've lost a bunch of money, so I've got some options here. I can kind of quit the deal, especially on a lot of my deals. I don't own them, but I control them through paperwork. So I could walk away from a deal like this because I've made a bunch of money on it already.
Right?
I'm in the process of losing some, but I could just walk away and just say forget it. Let the owner deal with it. I mean, partly that's just not my nature. That's not how I've got
No,
this
that's
set
not
up. And but I know lots of people. I mean, there's the thought of, man, should I just quit this deal and move on? And the thing is, with that, I could do that, but then I'm not going to learn anything. And unfortunately, I learn the most when I have to work through a mistake that either I've
I
made
like you said,
or has been,
unfortunately.
yeah, well, it's just kind of how I guess a lot of people are wired that way. But
Mhm.
so when I push through a problem, that's when my context expands because rather than saying I quit and I don't think about it anymore, I've got to force myself to think about, okay, how can I solve this problem? What are the potential opportunities? Are there other ways to make new revenue that I haven't thought of before or that I wouldn't have if I had to quit?
Mhm.
And so pushing through those, solving the problem, getting bumped and bruised on the way, making some new capital, losing some capital, restructuring the deal, and then now it's 2.0 real estate on the same deal. I I've learned a ton, and so there my context has expanded.
I gotcha.
When that problem comes again, I'm going to have a much bigger uh, pool of knowledge to draw on to solve the problem quicker, and move through it quicker. So that's, yeah. Does that make sense in terms of how one way that my context has expanded?
For sure. Well, you kind of mentioned this when we were talking before, but kind of the last time we talked before we did this, the kind of recording here, is you said that that's a big part of it is like being able to recover faster. Is like
Mhm.
by getting knocked down by a learn and some pain and like trying to figure it out. And like you said, that's where the greatest learning is, your ability to recover quickly, to be able to jump back in and take what you've learned and now apply it to land a bigger deal and a better deal. Like that's the piece that I'm hearing, is that the context of kind of like taking blows and being able to recover quickly, like that's the piece that's really helped you go from 17 deals to 140 plus.
Yeah, exactly.
That's huge. So I also put down the list. You kind of gave me this list in advance, but I wanted to put it on here so you could kind of talk about it. But these are some of the things you've said you've received from our time working together. And so
Mhm.
I'd love for you to walk through these a little bit and just say kind of a little bit about what you've got out of them, because these are kind of the soft, somewhat intangibles that I think people go, well, what does it mean when I get accountability as an example? Like, what does that really mean? So could you walk me through some of these and just give me a little bit of detail on each one?
Yeah, let's kind of rifle through
Yeah,
them. I mean, accountability is just that. I mean, it's when I know I've got to come back to you each week and I've got to report on if I did this or that. Like accountability is a really good structure for me, and just helps me push through stuff quicker in terms of what I said I was going to do, et cetera. So it just, again, it's the speed of time
yeah.
rather than me setting a to-do list for myself and no one else knows about it. I can put it off week after week and no one's going to get on my back.
Hmm.
Whereas you, it's like, so, okay, did you get this done? Okay, why not? Okay, when are you going to get it done by? And how are you going to get it to me?
What
So that just
what would you
moves stuff.
say as far as like people sometimes would say like that's micromanaging? Like I don't need somebody to micromanage me to do it. What would you say is the difference between micromanaging versus accountability? And maybe you have a thought on that.
No, micromanaging to me is you if like if you were micromanaging me, you would say, when are you going to do it? And then you'd proceed to tell me how to do it. You don't ever tell me how to do it unless if I ask what are some thoughts on you getting through this. So this is definitely not a micromanaging. It's just it's and these aren't small things. They're important things. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about them.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well said, man. Thank you for because I know people ask about that. So keep rolling.
Yeah. So tough questions is just you really in many ways holding me accountable to tough questions. But you've also forced me to ask tough questions a lot more and quicker and sooner than I would in the past. Just personal,
Mhm.
like my personality, and so just kind of cut into the core of it quicker to deal with what really needs to be dealt with.
Well, and Cam, I mean, look, you're a very nice guy. I like to think that I'm a very nice guy, but you've really grown. I think this is a huge area I've seen you grow the most is in asking those difficult or tough questions that ordinarily we both might shrink away from. But you've
Hmm.
really done a great job of pushing through that and asking your partners tough questions, your investors tough questions, and yourself tough questions to really push through and continue to expand that context. I think that's been one that you've taken on, and we've really looked at hard and said, okay, what are the hard questions and kind of even practice and role play those before you had to go out and do them, right?
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Thanks, man. Next one.
Yeah, yeah, mental blocks. Um, yeah, I come across a lot of mental blocks in terms of, a new problem that comes to me, and it's like trying to deal with it with my old paradigm way of thinking, just because it's more limited. And so, spending time solving problems and not so much solving them in the moment, but just brainstorming what are all the potential solutions and help me get out of my mental blocks
Right.
in terms of moving forward quicker.
Awesome. What about healthy perspective? What would you say as far as kind of what does healthy perspective mean to you? Like what part of coaching gave you that?
Yeah, I think our weekly sessions help me with that because there's times that I start the sessions and you're like, Mr. Hey, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm going, oh man, I've had a couple brutal days dealing with some problems. And you get caught up in stuff. I mean, a prime example is, you know, previously, uh, you know, being in a house with a tenant over a single problem that they is massive to them, and it's important to them. Don't get me wrong, but it's it's small, but it can be. You walk away from that kind of all-consuming.
Mm,
And earlier in the day, I was meeting with an investor talking about a potential, $1 or $2 million deal.
right.
But where do I find myself dwelling my energy and thoughts on at the end of the day is, crap, how am I going to deal with this problem with that tenant? And
Right.
it's a
That hot
minor
water
thing.
heater, that kitchen cabinet problem or something as opposed to the
Yeah,
$2 million
whatever.
deal.
Exactly. They think they don't owe late fees because their rent was a month late, and it's just like they say they're gonna sue and everything. Whatever.
Yeah.
It's just it can become really a loss of perspective, and so you've helped me in our weekly coaching sessions gain a fresh perspective and go, what's really important here. But also, I'm doing that on my own now. I've had something similar like this happen over the weekend where it's just like, it's kind of like consuming on this small detail, but I was able to go, hang on a second here, let's put this in perspective with
Yeah.
what's going on in light of the properties, in light of, the people working with me and my staff, take a deep breath and kind of go, okay, well, that can be solved quite easily by doing this and this. And
Awesome.
I can put it on the shelf and go back to thinking about and focusing on the items that give me energy and flow and like keep me energized.
Awesome. So we kind of touched on this one too, kind of Cam, the back on your feet quicker. Anything else you
Mhm.
want to say that we haven't already said about getting back on your feet quicker? We kind of even got it from the healthy perspective piece. Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think just it ties into a lot of stuff. I mean, what I'm finding in investing in real estate, time is so key in whether if it's collecting rents or if it's dealing with investors or potential buyers of our homes. Um, time and doing these deals quicker is key to faster success.
Yeah.
The quicker I can get back on my feet, whether if it's you know um, getting a phone call from a lawyer realizing that there's a bill that is new that sets me back, and just getting out of that, or dealing with a tenant, or a big deal that the investor said no and the deal's fallen through. The quicker I can get back on my feet, the quicker that I can move on to the next deal or close the deal that I was working on.
So that speed really does just increase your income over and over again, the faster you can get back
Right.
up.
It
Awesome.
does. It does.
So talk about these last two, the exhausting excuses, and that kind of like, ties into exercises when needed. Tell me about those last two, Kim.
Yeah, I mean, at any given week when we meet, and we don't do as many of them now just because I'm really practicing a lot of them already, but
Yeah.
I'll come across an obstacle or a mental block or whatever, something I got to deal with, and you'll bring out one of these exercises that helps me process it quickly and gain perspective.
Mm.
Um, so a classic thing in negotiating, whether if it's an investor or one of our clients who wants to buy one of our homes, it's so easy for me to think through, oh, they'll say no, and here's why they'll say no, and it's just like, why am I answering for them? I need to meet with them and answer all their questions. And so one of the exercises we've done is just you get me to verbally, in like 2 minutes, list out all the reasons why someone would say no. And it's, some of them are legit, some of them are stupid things, but they come to mind, because the sky's blue. I mean, no one's going to say no, but it comes to mind. So you say it. So you just kind of get all these things out of your brain down on paper, and you really just exhaust these excuses. And so you keep doing these exercises, and after a while, they kind of become who you are, and you realize that you got to get out of your own way, and getting rid of the excuses is one of those ways. So that's one of the exercises. I mean, another exercise that we've done is just talking about how big I am. Um, I've
Yeah, and challenging yourself with that.
yeah, I we started a meeting one time, and I was dealing with a lender who enjoys making people feel small. And so we did this how big I am exercise, and realized, yeah, this is really not that big of a deal. It's one lender. That's his own problem. And just realizing that, I wasn't small, and I was big, and it just gave me a ton of confidence. And we pushed through that, have done very well via that lender at this point now, and so that's just another exercise. I mean, you've got a plethora of exercises,
Yeah.
and they're fantastic.
Well, what I'll say too, Cam, because I think it's to your benefit here. I mean, really to know this is like, I think that the biggest thing for you is that you take every single exercise I give you and you are willing to try it, even if they're crazy. And I'm sure I've thrown you crazy exercises that you thought this dude is insane, and maybe I've even thrown you some that didn't work sometimes. But the fact that you're always willing to try it, I think, is a testament to you to just say, look, if you don't apply this stuff, you don't, rip through it and just give it everything you got, it's not going to work. And I think that,
Mhm.
again, all of this stuff would maybe somebody might look at it and go, well, I don't know, or maybe it's a lot of work or whatever, but you've just taken it on so well and just said, I'm just going to run with it and use it to the best of my ability. And I've just seen it over and over again give you the most tremendous amount of success. So congrats on that.
Mhm. Thank you.
So let me kind of end with this question, Cam, and thank you guys for that are watching and have tuned in this whole thing. Hopefully, got some perspective on Cam and also on coaching. And again, I want to just encourage you guys to just know it's possible and know that Cam was in a good spot when he started. But Cam, what would you say to someone who's hesitant to start coaching, that kind of is unsure of what they're going to get, and they're just on the fence, they're trying to figure it out? What would you say to somebody who says that? Because you're freaking 4 years deep in this thing now. Like, what would you say?
Hmm. Yeah, I would say go for it, because you look at anyone who's successful, they've got significant people speaking into their life. I've got multiple mentors.
Yeah.
I've got a couple different style of coaches, um, and and I mean, I've got a long, long way to go. But when you look at people in your field that are ahead of you, they're going to attribute a lot of their success to having a coach or a mentor. You know, they might have different terms for it, but go for it. I mean, uh, you need someone to help you get over yourself, and you need someone to help see what you can achieve. Um, just as a prime example, I was in the gym Friday afternoon, and I was lifting these kettlebells, dead weight lifts, and I was lifting two green ones. I don't even know what weight they are, but
Congrats, by the
they're
way. Way
pretty.
to be at the gym. Yep.
Yeah, they were pretty heavy. You know, it's like a group session, right? And so my coach comes up to me and goes, "How's that going?" I go, "Pretty good." He goes, "Think you can do the orange ones?" I go, "Yeah, I can give it a try." And kind of with a grin on both of our faces because he knew I could easily do the next level,
Right.
but I wasn't pushing myself.
Mm,
And so there's a prime example of a coach seeing what you can do and pushing the next level. And so I did the rest of that set, with I think they're probably 7 or 8 pounds heavier each, so total of 16 pounds. And I got through it fine. It was a bit harder, but I got through it.
right.
So that perfect example of a coach helping you get to the next level.
Yeah.
You got to do it.
And seeing that potential, and I love what you said as far as looking for different people in different areas. I know you've got a physical coach, you've got a coach who actually helps you with specifics of real estate and the deals, and I'm gonna help with the personal and the mental side and the increasing the size of your context in the game. Like, I mean, I think it's just awesome. And what I just want to say for you, Cam, is congratulations on having such awesome wins. Like I said, this wouldn't be possible if you didn't apply all of these things. And just so people can find out, if they want to, check out investing with you, because obviously I highly, highly, highly recommend you as an investment partner. Actually, we're talking about doing a deal up here in the Tahoe area so we can get some property going around here. But how can people get a hold of you if they want to do some real estate and do some things like that with you?
Yeah, for sure. My website is squarefootproperties.ca. So
Awesome.
it's all spelled out, and that's just on there. Find an email address, and or else you can call our office number 204-800-2062.
Awesome. So yeah, again, like I said, if any of you guys have ever been dealing with property and you want to make your 18% but not have to deal with the property, I know a guy. Now you know a guy too. So Cam, thank you so much for being on, man. I am so grateful to have you not only as a client but as a friend over the last 4 years. Been able to spend some time with you. So thank you so much, and continue to wish you success in your business and make some awesome things happen.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Cam.